guys, so I just kind of wanted to recap what we did this week. And so this entire week we took a look at functions and mapping diagrams. And so it's just really important that we understand mostly what a mapping diagram is and what a function is. Because on Monday we're going to be looking at different ways that we can represent functions. And we already have one of them out of the way. It's a mapping diagram. So we're going to be looking at equations and tables, and so we need to make sure that we understand what makes a function a function. So on the first time, we looked at mapping diagrams, and so mapping diagrams are a way that is used to represent a function, and they can be written as an ordered pair, and that was our first task on Wednesday, is being able to look at the fact that we're putting in values. Those are called our inputs. I label them as my x's, just because it's easier for me to see that my inputs are what I put in, that x, and my outputs are that y, what I get back. It also helps if I ever have to make a mapping diagram off of a graph. I know that my x coordinate and my y coordinate, this value can be written in an xy table, which is also a mapping diagram. So if I were to list the ordered pairs, I would go across and I would say that 2, if I put in 2, I get 1, so I write it as 2, 1. Next, if I put in 4, I get 2. If I put in 6, I get 3. And if I put in 8, I get 4. And so again, it's just showing you that this mapping diagram is really a bunch of ordered pairs. It's a function. We can graph these values. We can take a graph, write them as ordered pairs, and then write them as mapping diagrams. The important part about a mapping diagram is this arrow, because this arrow tells us what we get. So if I put in 2, I get 1, which leads us to our functions piece over here. And so our functions piece is extremely important because it basically tells us if it's a function or not. Because for it to be a function, each input has only one output. What that means is if I put 2 in and I get a 3 out, every single time that I put a 2 in, I have to get a 3. That has to be my answer. If I put a 2 in and all of a sudden I get a 3 and then next time I put a 2 in I get a 4, this is not a function because something changed. So we need to make sure that our inputs have only one output. Now, I can, if I look over here, 2 put in, get a 3, 4 gets a 4, 6 gets a 5, 8 gets a 6. So this meets the requirement for a function. Each input has only one output. So on these examples, they're a little small, but I'll talk through them. If I put in a 2, I get a 3. If I put in a 3 and I follow this arrow, I get a 3. And if I put in a 3, I get a 4. And I can stop right here and see that with this inputs, I'm getting 2 outputs. So I know right away, no. This is not a function because I can't have different outputs. It doesn't make sense to say the first time I put a 3 in, I get a 3, and the second time I put in, I get a 4. Not a function. Now if I look down here, this one is saying I put a 4 in and I get an 8. I put a 5 in and I also get an 8. And I put a 6 in and I get a 9. This one does meet the requirements. Even though I'm getting 8 for 2 of my inputs, it doesn't matter because every time I put a 4 in, I'm still getting 8. Each time that 4 goes into my function, I get the same answer. I put the 5 in, I get the same answer. So I can have all of these could be the same output and it still makes sense. So this is a function. And so next week we're going to take a look at functions and writing rules for functions and being able to take the graph and be able to put it into here. Today you're going to be completing a Kahoot challenge. And so what's going to happen is the top 5 people from your block are going to earn 10 house points for their Kahoot challenge. If there's ties, I'll give you each 10 house points. My goal is that next week, Wednesday, I'm going to try to send some letters home, just some for people who have gotten the most house points and just like kind of a little check-in type of thing as like a reward for getting our house points. As well, you have an assignment today. So your assignment, you don't need your textbook, you don't need a worksheet, it's all in the Google form. There's multiple choice you can pick and then some free answer ones that you can pick that I will self-grade. This will really serve as a nice checkpoint to see, did we get 6.1? So we can start 6.2 on Monday. As always, if you have questions or concerns, please email me through Hangouts, whatever it may be. You can do Google Meet. But I would love to help and assist as much as I can. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you later. Bye.